AP Micro FRQ, number 1. Corn is used as food and as an input in the production of ethanol. Assume corn is produced in a perfectly competitive market. Draw a labeled side-by-side graph for the corn market and a corn farmer. We know that means a firm. The equilibrium price and quantity, PM, QM, profit maximizing quantity of corn produced by the farmer or the firm, earning zero economic profits. So we're just drawing a side-by-side graph of market and firm. Remember, market could also be called industry. Don't let them trick you with that. Obviously, firm is farmer. Do they tell us? They don't tell us who it is. Doesn't matter. PQ. PQs, don't lose a point for those. Supply is upward sloping, demand is downward sloping for the market. Now we do have the price. It is a perfectly competitive, so the price is the same for the firm as it is for the market. Here's PM, here's QM. Did they say PF? They don't tell us to, doesn't matter. This is our Mr. DARP. Marginal revenue, demand, average revenue, and price. Here's our marginal cost curve. And we know to be in long run equilibrium, our ATC just goes through where profit max is. Make sure you understand, always the first thing we want to do is make sure we know where profit max is, because that would be the quantity we want to produce. We have to know what our quantity is. Here's our ATC. I think we're in long run equilibrium. Let's make sure. Earning zero economic. Now, they don't say long run equilibrium, but you need to know that perfectly competitive firms that are in long run equilibrium are also making zero economic profit. That also, they could have asked you to do a normal profit. You better know that both of those are the exact same thing, right? We also need to know that we're at break even right now. If our price equals our ATC, we are at break even. We could also say we're allocatively efficient. That's why everybody's all hung up on perfect competition, right? Because it hits all these points. Where price equals marginal cost, that is allocative efficiency. Our price equals our marginal cost at that quantity. So we are allocatively efficient. We're also productively efficient, which means our ATC, we're hitting our ATC and producing where our ATC is at its minimum or its lower cost. That's where price equals the minimum of the ATC. So we're hitting all these points. Not only are we at long run equilibrium for both the market and the firm, our firm's making zero economic profit. It's making a normal profit. It's at break even. Know the formula. It's allocatively efficient and productively efficient. It helps if you know the formulas, right? And of course, we're at profit max, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. All right. It says assume, B, the demand for ethanol increases on your graph in part A. Show what will happen to each of the following in the short run. Demand for ethanol increases, which obviously means demand for corn increases also. So the demand for corn goes up. This gives us a new price or new Mr. DARP. Ooh, sloppy. First thing we do, new profit max, right? We got a new Mr. DARP, so we got to find where our marginal cost and marginal revenue now come together. That gives us our new quantity, right? So we can see that we're producing more here. Can we also see, well, that's what they want, the price, the quantity of corn, P star price, let's call that P star there. Market quantity would be Q star. P and Q, and the area of profit or loss by the farmer, shaded completely. Understand that we go to where profit max is to find that area of profit or loss. Now, the price went up, and if the price goes up after we're in long run equilibrium, we've got to be making a profit. We can see it here, and it's always at the quantity that we're producing at. So now we're producing at this quantity. We can go to our profit max. We come straight down, tick, 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 till we hit our ATC, and then we go straight to the left. Now, notice that I didn't follow that curve down and follow that. That Mr. DARP below there doesn't exist right now. So to follow that down implies that you don't know. See how I kind of gave a little bit more of a gap? I want my readers to know that I hit that ATC and I don't follow this lower MR Mr. DARP. That doesn't exist anymore. So I'm going to want to, and I can't draw it perfectly straight, but I would like a perfectly straight line, and it would leave a little bit of gap between that lower Mr. DARP and actually where my ATC is. So this would all be what we call positive economic profits. And if we had it shaded in, make sure you shade it all the way over to there and all the way around so they know you know what you're doing. Oh, I almost went below there. Tricky. All right, so that's my profit, shaded somewhat completely. Relative to your answer in part B, state what will happen to the market equilibrium price and quantity of corn in the long run. Well, in the short run, we know demand increased, price increased, and now we were making positive economic profits. But in the long run, we know there's profits in the industry in the short run, and only in the short run can there be profits or losses. In the long run, because firms will enter chasing those positive economic profits. They want some of them. When firms enter, we know that supply will increase and our price will fall. And in the long run, we'll return back to long run equilibrium. So the supply will shift, and I don't know exactly, but I'm just going to say it shifts back to the original price. And the price would go back down and we would return back to long run equilibrium at that lower Mr. DARP. And I think that's all we would explain it as. We would simply say this written out. We would say you have to explain why why supply increases, why the price falls. And it is because firms are entering, and you want to make sure you say that they're chasing those profits from the short run. In the short run, there's positive economic profits. Therefore, in the long run, firms enter. Only in the long runs can firms enter. Supply increases, price goes down, we return back to long run equilibrium. If you can write that all out, you're pretty golden on this. Soybeans are produced in a perfectly competitive market. Assume farmers can grow either corn or soybeans on the same land. What happens to the price of soybean in the next planting season if the price of corn increases? So this is just easy to show. Here's my fields. I got half of it corn. I got half of it soybeans, right? And then it looks like the price of corn goes up. So this is joint or competitively supplied goods. If you go back to supply and demand. If the price of corn goes up, now I'm producer, and now what I grow, the price of corn goes up, meaning that I'm making more profit now on every bit of corn I produce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move. Can I move that? No, not with that. Maybe this one. Yeah. I'm going to plow under some of my soybeans and I'm going to grow more corn, right? Because corn's my money maker. So as the profit on corn goes up, because the price of corn goes up, I plow under some of my soybean fields and I grow more corn because that's where all my profit is. Well, obviously I'm making less soybeans than I was before. The supply of soybeans decreases, therefore the price has to go up. Can we see that? We would explain it just that way. As the price of corn goes up, we grow more corn, less soybeans. As the supply of soybeans decreases, the price would go up. I hope that makes sense. All right. E, assume that instead the government sets a binding price ceiling in the corn market. Draw a new correctly labeled graph in the corn market and show the following. The price ceiling, quantity of purchase by consumers. So this is just a simple supply and demand graph. They are wanting a correctly labeled graph for the corn market. We know what our corn market looked like because we drew it up here. It's just supply upward sloping, demand downward sloping, price and quantity. This is our corn market. Price ceilings. Price ceilings. We know we always say floors are high and ceilings are low. So we're talking about a ceiling. It has to be below the equilibrium to be binding or effective. And they did say clearly they want a binding price ceiling, or you could draw it anywhere. But if it's binding, it can only be below the equilibrium point. So this price ceiling, we come straight across, tick, 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 tick. We're hitting the supply curve. So that's our quantity supplied. We keep going, tick, tick, tick. We hit the demand curve. That's our quantity demanded. We know immediately if demand is greater than supply, we obviously have a shortage. I think we've done everything we need to do here. We did the price ceilings. We just need to ask what's purchased by consumers. They could have also said what's sold. Just be tricky in their language, right? College board guys are jerks. So that's always sort of tricky for people. Does society get the quantity demanded or the quantity supplied? Well, you can demand all you want, but if nobody's produced it, you don't get it, right? So there is a shortage in this market because there's a lot of people who wanted it, this lowered price, but not many people who want to supply it. So what's sold or purchased is the quantity supplied, and they want us to label it QP. So instead of QS here, I probably should have made this QP. I'd circle it, draw an arrow to it, make sure they know I know exactly what's going on. All right, guys, that was a little sloppy, but we covered a bunch of stuff here. Hope it helps. Let me know what's going on. Be safe. Take care. See you soon.